everyone, my name is Audrey. I'm a member of the Student Conservation Association working here at the Norrie Point Environmental Center, and I'm here to teach you a bit about the geology of the Hudson River Valley. And now what I think is really cool about geology is that geologists are able to look at a rock or a landscape and they're able to tell a story about what happened either hundreds of years ago or millions of years ago. So, for example, if we look at this beautiful outcrop we have right here at Norrie Point, there's a couple things that a geologist is able to tell just by looking at it. So for one thing, a geologist can take a magnifying glass or just look with their eyes at this outcrop and they can see that it's made of this mixture of sand and mud, which means that when it was deposited before it became a rock under a lot of intense pressure, it was just this sort of, it was like the bottom of an ocean basin, so of this really still moving water. Something else a geologist might notice is that this outcrop is super tilted. So sedimentary rocks, which are rocks that are deposited by water or wind or gravity before they become rocks, sedimentary rocks are always deposited horizontally. So when we come across one that has this extreme tilt to its layers, we know that some sort of collision or mountain building event must have happened in order to tilt these rocks. Something else that's cool about the Hudson Valley is that we're actually just able to look out onto the landscape and see and notice different things about its features. So for example, the Hudson Valley is a very flat, almost U-shaped river valley with these really soft mountainous features in the background. And so geologists are able to look at these features and they can tell that these were likely eroded by ice and not by water. So water will cause these sort of sharp, jagged, mountainous features. But things like glaciers, like we know existed in this area during the last ice age, 2 miles above my head, came through this area and carved this sort of soft landscape. And you can see glacial features from New York City all the way up to Albany and throughout our entire state. So we're here at the Kingston waterfront, and the Rondout, like many other towns up and down the Hudson Valley, formed around this historic brick-making industry during the mid-18 and early 1900s. Bricks are made out of clay, and clay in the Hudson Valley was deposited 10,000 years ago at the end of the last ice age. So what happened was the climate started to get warmer and these huge glaciers started to melt and retreat north, and then as they retreated north, they flooded the whole Hudson Valley, forming something called Glacial Lake Albany, which extended all the way from Albany down to New York City. And this very still, slow-moving lake allowed the tiny bits of mud and clay that were suspended in the water to settle to the bottom. And eventually those formed these clay deposits that our towns were formed around. So now we're outside of Rosendale, New York, which was home to a booming cement industry in the late 18 and early 1900s. Behind me you can see this row of old cement kilns that were used to make cement during this time. Now, cement is made from a special rock called limestone, which is made of the shelly remains of ocean-dwelling creatures, things like brachiopods, corals, and crinoids. Now, limestone is full of fossils of these ancient creatures that existed 400 million years ago in this part of the world. So, from these fossils, geologists are able to tell that New York at that time was sort of located, it was more like a shallow ocean, sort of like a coral reef environment, located a little bit south of the equator. All right, well, thank you for joining me on this journey around the Hudson Valley where we learned a little bit about the local geology of our area. I hope that you saw a little bit about how geologists are able to tell a story based on things that we can observe in our own backyards. And I hope that you feel encouraged to explore the land around where you live and learn a bit about what happened in the distant past.